Hey guys, it's Anne from Pearson Bowed Home, and thank you for joining us. We are located in Old Town Spring, which is just north of Houston, Texas. So if you're ever in the area, please do drop in Tuesday through Sundays. All right, so we've got a little project that's a little bit different. We are going to try doing a screen print transfer on a piece of wood. So we're going to do, this is a board. I've worked on a couple of different things. I was doing some techniques, and I've already sanded it down smooth so that it's, because it had some rough spots on this, the technique I did before. This is just one of our classroom samples. We typically do the shiplap look on those. So we're gonna go ahead and paint this a base color of, we're gonna shoot for Pop the Bubbly from Country Chic. We're gonna give it a base coat real quick. I've got my Pop the Bubbly base coat on my piece of wood here. So what we're gonna do is do a little bit of dry brushing to prepare my surface for our screen print, and I'll show you that in a little bit. So let's get first down to dry brushing. We're going to tilt the camera down so you can see what I'm doing, and we're going to do two different colors on the dry brushing. We're going to do Driftwood. It's a darker color there. That's going to be our base color of dry brush, and then we're going to follow that up with Cheesecake, which is my all-time favorite. Not only my favorite food, but one of my favorite colors. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and flip that camera down, and you won't see me, but you'll see this. All right, so we've got our sign that we're working on. I have it elevated on a scrap piece of wood so that I can work on it and not worry about getting any on the edges of my table. So we're gonna go ahead and start dry brushing with the driftwood. So I'm gonna give it a good shake here. And I'm going to use my blue ice brushes, but you can use any brush. You can use any synthetic, a chip brush, whatever floats your fancy. So let's go ahead and dip. And I'm going to get a good amount on my brush here. All right, so then we're going to take this, just a paper towel, and I'm going to wipe off the excess. Okay. All right, so we've got the excess wiped off. Now I'm gonna go, in this one, I wanna go in up and down so that it gives a kind of a planky feel this direction. And so I'm going to ignore the curves. I don't wanna curve it. So we wanna do, just kind of drag your brush across. You kind of start to see it, and you can apply more pressure to your brush as you go through. So we're just applying it, and I'm applying a lot of pressure because my brush is pretty much dry now. So I'm gonna add a little bit more because I want it to be a little darker. So again, we wipe off the excess. I'm going to go a little darker. And it doesn't have to be perfect, because the overall is, I want this to kind of look like an old weathered piece of wood. So I want a little bit more there in the middle. So again, I'm going to dip my brush in the paint, get off the excess. So I'm pretty well happy with how that's turning out. So there we go. I've got my first layer of dry brush of driftwood. Let's see if you guys can see that. All right, so we're gonna let that dry just a tad before we put on our cheesecake, because if you let it, if you put on another coat of dry brushing and the first coat isn't completely dry, what will happen is that you'll start to muddy up your piece, and that's not the look we're looking for today. So let's get this to dry and we'll apply our cheesecake. All right, so this step, this is what we're going to use. We're using cheesecake. by Country Chic, and I want it to be a little chunkier, so I'm going to use a regular natural bristle chip brush. So I'm going to go ahead and get my brush loaded with cheesecake. See, it's nice and loaded. Now I need to wipe all that off because we don't want, if we just paint over it with what we get on our thing, it's just going to be a big glob. So we don't want that. All right, so we're going to go from there. I'm going to pull out any loose hairs. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it this way. It might be a little bit easier to go in the other direction, sideways versus up and down. So you position your project wherever it's best for you. All right, so we're just gonna lightly, just want like chunky. And I don't care that if it's, normally I would go all the way across, but I kind of want more of a chippy, kind of abruptly stop motion in this. So I'm getting this kind of weathered, worn out. Now I'm going to take the rest of this on the edges, just kind of lightly look like it's worn on the edges with the cheesecake. So that's just lightens it up on the edge. Just looks like the paint's worn through without actually having to wear it through. And that's it when it comes to the dry brushing. Okay, our dry brushing is complete. So the next step is to go and heat up the heat press. So we are going to use a professional heat press that we would normally press t-shirts or koozies or what have you, tote bags with. We're going to use it to do a screen print transfer on this painted wood piece. It's going to be similar to a rub-on transfer, but hopefully a little faster and something unique and different, because you can actually get them custom made, your screen prints. So if you have a design you've created, you can actually have it turned into a screen print, and you can also put it on wood. It has to be flat wood surfaces. You do need a professional heat press, but I'm sure you know a friend or have a friend of a friend that has a heat press. All right, we're now in my home office where we typically do a lot of screen print transfers, and we used to do vinyl here on t-shirts in this office. But I have my board with me now that we painted in our classroom, and we're preheating the heat press right now, and we've already got it so that the right pressure will be on our board, because we actually had it set for t-shirts, so that's too thin. Obviously this board's a little thicker than a t-shirt, so we do have to adjust that. That's why it's very important to use a professional heat press. It's going to give the right pressure so that your transfer will work. Here's our our transfer here. It is a screen print transfer. We buy these, and typically we put these on fabrics, t-shirts, aprons, tote bags. Anything that's fabric, we usually put on these screen print transfers. So I'm excited to try it on a piece of wood. Now you do need a flat piece of wood, not a lot of texture to it, and it also has to be able to fit into the heat press. So there are others that have the rotate away that may have a little bit more leeway here. So we are using a clamshell heat press, so hopefully we won't have any issues here. So we're just currently waiting for it to get to 325 degrees. So typically you would press according to the instructions from manufacturer, so usually about 325 to 350 for about 5 to 7 seconds. So as soon as that's heated up, we'll go ahead and get it started. Okay, the press is now at 325 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and just set our board here right in the middle of it. And we need to now, let me see if I can get some light. All right, so now we need to pre-press it to make sure we get any moisture out of it. So we're going to press it. Now, I have not done this with painted wood before. All right. Woohoo. So I'm going to cool that out a bit because it does want to take off my paint. You know how when you have heat some wood, all right, with paint on it with like a heat gun. All right, but we are looking still good there. All right, so here's a moment of truth. Let's see, we've got our wood now here. And now we're going to go ahead and center our buffalo on our board right there. All right, and here we go. Now it's 7 seconds. All right, now we're going to gently peel this back. Let's see, can you guys see? Oh, I don't want to have it too bright. So we're going to gently peel this back. If any of it sticks, we'll just press it back down. And I'm just gently pulling back the transfer paper. Ooh. So that's an interesting little thing going on right there. And that may be because of the bottom. Let's see if we get this out. All right, so we have a little bit of a fold here. So I'm going to try pressing that back because I know it did not get pressed properly. So I'm going to just kind of rotate it here. I'm going to rotate it towards the back of this so it gets the maximum press. So we're just going to press it for a few seconds here. Okay. Alrighty. Let's set that aside. All right, voila. We've got our buffalo pressed on our piece of wood. Okay guys, this was a fairly easy project to do. We simply painted and dry brushed one of our round siding boards, and then we added a screen print transfer with a heat press, and it took about 15 seconds to apply this guy onto the board. So super easy to do. If you have access to a heat press, this is something kind of fun to do and a quick easy project. So next thing we're going to do is just add a quick bow to this, and it's ready to hang. Happy painting, you guys. For a final touch, we dry brushed Tiger's Eye glaze to the piece. We truly hope you enjoyed this project as much as we enjoyed creating it.